everybody, and welcome back to the Big Nick Energy Podcast. I'm John, and with me, as always, is Marky. Marky, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, John. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain too much. It's a beautiful day in California, and unlike last week, I'm not dealing with the flu, so things are
That's
looking
great.
up.
That's
Yeah,
great. I
thank
kind
you.
of feel a little under the weather, but I'm managing.
Well, I'm
Doing
sorry
good.
to hear that. I'm also sorry to rub in that it's sunny and beautiful in Los Angeles, as I believe you're dealing with some good amount of snow on the East Coast.
Yes, yes. I might be snowed in tomorrow.
We
We'll
are
see.
recording this Tuesday evening slash afternoon, about a half an hour before the Knicks and Pacers tip off. So anything that happens in that game, we will not be talking about because while you are listening to it after the game, we are recording it before it happens.
Hey, shout out though, real quick, to Jahlil Okafor, who played himself back into the league. He's on the Pacers. I believe he's on a 10-day contract and is going to be at least on the bench tonight for the Pacers.
I did see that. However, I do not shout out Duke basketball alumni.
Yeah,
Just a
sorry,
little
buddy.
personal preference.
Still, I
All
always
right.
like to hear a guy that gets back into the league.
No, it is a good story, and I'm glad he's back in the league. I just have to be an obnoxious ACC
I get
fan
it.
to
Wait,
cater.
Wake Forest, Demon
Yeah,
Deacons,
anybody but Duke.
Dukes.
Well, since we last spoke, we recorded during the Raptors game that the Knicks ended up winning. We got to watch most of it, and that was a fun one. Ultimately, though, leading to a not so fun one on Saturday
Brutal.
when the Celtics pretty handily beat the Knicks. It was pretty ugly. Back to back Saturday ESPN national games not going our way so much.
Nope.
No, 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 not what you want to see.
I
But we
don't
are
like
back
uh I don't
tonight
like
versus the
those games.
Pacers. And no, I don't like them either.
Losing
I
nationally and to good teams. Like,
And with Richard Jefferson taking pot shots all the way along.
oh my God. ESPN. It's whatever. Whatever. How they schedule these games. Yeah. They know it causes a ruckus. So
Yeah, I think in hindsight they might not have gotten rid of Van Gundy and Mark Jackson if they had known JJ Redick was going to be one and done. I feel like the ESPN booth has taken a bit of a hit in recent years,
for sure.
for sure. But much love to our girl Doris Burke. She's still the GOAT. And it is nice to have her on the call when she gets the Knicks
Well,
games.
what's happening with TNT guys next year?
They're gonna be on ESPN. I don't know how it's all gonna work. I'll wait and see when it's actually on TV. I don't need to go crazy into it until we
Yeah, I don't
actually get
really
it.
care, especially when
Yeah,
we have the best local broadcast team in the country. So
exactly. Give me Brandon and Clyde every night of the week, and I'll be
heck yeah.
happy.
Oh, I was talking about can't
Kenny
even make
Albert.
this joke. Wally and Alan Hahn.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Go insult Tyrese Halliburton some more.
whatever. Oh yeah. No. Well, yeah. Wally.
Well,
Whatever.
as we said, beat the Raptors, lost to the Celtics. We're recording this right before the Pacers game, and it'll come out tomorrow, the day of the Hawks game. And that wraps up the first half of the season
Yeah.
before the NBA All-Star break and All-Star weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy we're here already.
It is kind of nuts. I mean, we're technically past the halfway point, but if you want to use the
Sure.
demarcation of the All Star break as like the midway point, yeah, it's crazy. The season kind of flew by. It still feels like I could be making the excuse that these guys are still learning to play together.
They are
Uh,
still learning to play together. No, just
I mean, in ways they are. Once Mitch comes back,
can't
which
wait.
we'll get into that. Yeah, no, that loss to the Celtics. Every time they lose to a team that we're supposedly on par with, like that, it's really demoralizing to me, at least as a fan watching that. It's like, damn, like they didn't even have Chris Stapps or uh,
Yeah.
Holiday available. So like,
It's a tough reminder that while this is a great Knicks team and it's something we haven't had in a very long time, this kind of sustained relevance, they're still not at the top of the mountain yet.
mhm,
Maybe Mitch coming back will be that extra push needed to get there. I've seen some interesting rumors on the buyout market. A name that I've seen bubble up lately in the last day or two is Chris Boucher, who I guess is about to
interesting.
get bought out from the Raptors. Wouldn't mind bringing him down south of the border. He's a nice little piece to put next to Karl Anthony Towns and the bigs down there. He had some good run a few years ago. He's been kind of buried in Toronto's depth chart in recent seasons. Not quite sure why. He also was on one of the Warriors championship teams his rookie year.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's a guy with some experience that I'd like to see the Knicks try and go after if he is on that buyout market.
interesting.
Yes, but Today's exercise, since it is the All-Star break coming up this weekend, we've decided to do the cliche thing most NBA and sports midseason writers, podcasters, talking heads, you name it, do, and that's give out some midway grades. So we're gonna kind of go through the Knicks roster. We'll talk about the grades everybody's gotten so far this season, where they're at, where we think they need to go from here, and starting us off, Marky, what kind of grade do you give Mr. Jalen Brunson so far this year?
Jalen Brunson gets a solid A.
I see.
I
And
mean,
you wanna vamp on that? Tell us why.
no, he's done
What do you
everything.
mean?
First year as a captain, I think he's has risen to the occasion to prove that he is the guy for the job. He's the leader. Just this last game, I mean, even though they lost to the Lakers, you saw him huddle up the team. You saw him. He knows when the team's struggling and he needs to make a bucket, and he makes the bucket. And
Absolutely.
that's what superstars do. That's what leaders do. That's what the 1A player on your team does. So to me, Jalen Brunson gets a solid A. I'm not giving him an A plus. That's reserved for Michael Jordan and LeBron in his prime. So go Jalen. We love
See,
you.
this is why you and I are different because I am giving him an A plus
Okay.
because Jalen Brunson is better than Jordan and he's better than LeBron in his prime. So, no, I'm going A plus, and the plus is because he's continued to be the elite captain we know and love, but he's done it, kind of altering his game. His points scored is down a couple points this year. His assists are up. Incorporating Cat, incorporating an entirely newly restructured team. Maintaining consistency, being there when needed, deferring when it's better for the team that others get going. It's weird because it's almost like he's gotten better than last year, but he's done that by taking a step back and letting others get their due, which that's what a point guard does. But got to call it out. It's nice to see it executed so successfully. I don't think there hasn't been anything left unsaid about Brunson's sacrifices for the team and how he's our guy and what he means as a team captain and to the Knicks and the city of New York. And as long as he's doing his thing, it'll always be an A plus for me.
Love it. All right. I'm going to move on to Mr. Cat Williams. Wrong cat. Well, sorry. Wrong podcast. I do a comedy podcast on the side.
Fair,
Whatever.
fair,
Sorry.
fair. Although I wouldn't mind seeing Cat Williams, line up at center for the Knicks.
I was going to try to mimic him. I cannot.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm
We
not
don't need
doing
to
it.
get canceled.
Carl Anthony Towns, he's an interesting one for me because he is having a career year too. Many would say since he's come to New York, it's kind of unlocked something in his game. Um, I'm going to be a little critical here because if I'm giving Jalen an A, I'm giving Cat a B. I think, and part of this isn't necessarily Cat's fault.
Sure.
He's being asked to be more of a defensive big at times. That's not his game. And he, for whatever reason, I watched him obviously when he was in Minnesota. I don't know if he was getting the calls that he thinks he should be getting because the eye test is when I see him go up, it looks like he's being mauled and he's not getting the call. But instead of getting back on defense, he would much rather scream at the ref. And that it just I cannot wait until Mitch is back. So a lot of that is not happening anymore. Anyway, I can't give him an A. I think he's that perfect complement to Brunson. They've made it work together. It looks great at times. And he's an elite player, and we're about to see that because they're both all-star starters. So Cat gets a B for me.
That's fair. I was gonna go with a B plus myself. I was between an A minus and a B plus. I probably should go A minus because he's been electric. I don't think any of us expected he would be this good coming over. I think even the most optimistic Knicks fans would would have told you that he's an all-star caliber player, something that we didn't have. But I don't think anyone expected this, especially the energy he brings on the offensive side of the ball. I think B plus instead of A minus is because he is playing injured right now. It feels like these are injuries that are going to be there the whole season and into the postseason. They are affecting his shooting, which is one of the biggest weapons he has in his arsenal. So that's affected. And to your point, the defense just isn't there. I mean, that's not who he is. That's not necessarily his fault.
It's
He
unfair
does
of me.
try,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
unfair.
gotten better. It was a lot worse at the start of the season. It's gotten better since. But that is off the table, and hopefully Mitch comes back and does shore that up and does kind of fill that gap in this team's front line right now. But I mean, what can't be said about Cat? He's averaging a career high in rebounds, scoring's up, and I mean just the way he came in and has seamlessly fit in with Brunson in that pick and roll and this offense. It's just been incredible to see and so much fun to watch.
Love it.
Next on the list, we have Mikal
Mikhail
Bridges. You wanna
Bridges.
keep this party going and tell us what you got?
A B minus for Mikhail. Obviously, I can't put him over Cat, not putting him over Brunson, but Bridges, as the season's gone on, has proven he's like our little mini third man. Not calling him mini like he's small, um, but like he his release. I don't know if he's worked on this more and more, but like his release is so quick, especially in the corner when he's set and ready. It's become a thing of beauty. He's almost automatic from there. When it's a quick
Sure,
release, it's like it barely touches his fingertips. It's amazing. Um,
absolutely.
I love Bridges' game. I think he's a great third option when we need scoring, and that's why he's going to be minus for me. Love you,
I
Mikhail.
I dig it. I'm going B. Obviously, we've talked about it before. Slow start to the season, but he's come on incredibly strong since December. He's emerged as a consistent third option in the offense. I believe he's averaging around 18 points a game, which is perfect behind Brunson and Cat. He's playing great defense. And what I really love to see is how he's become kind of that secondary ball handler behind Brunson and leading the second unit.
Yes.
When Brunson's off the court, if Bridges is on it, I feel comfortable with the ball in his hands, more so necessarily than kind of Deuce and campaign at times.
Agree.
As much as I love those guys, sometimes I just feel a little bit safer with Bridges running the offense than those two. So yeah, love everything Bridges. Obviously, the price we paid to get him was high. As things with Giannis develop in Milwaukee, maybe we come to regret that. Maybe what's it matter? These were going to be late round picks anyway, because the Knicks are going to be a top 5 to 7 team for the next 5 years.
Easily.
So yeah, no, I mean, we love this team. We're going to be overly positive on, I think, on our grades as a whole, for the most part. I know some I'm going to penalize, but yeah, Bridges has been a great fit. The Nova Knicks coming together has been incredibly fun to watch, even if it did mean shipping Dante out of town.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, back to your point. It was really hard to grade these all the players because honestly, it's a lot of right now the next guy we're about to talk about has my lowest grade. Um
Fair.
and that is OG and I give him a C. Oh, barely passing grade.
No, I was gonna go C plus, just not to be overly harsh. But I agree. At the end of the day, he signed a max contract over
Yep.
the summer, so those are the expectations he's going to be held
Yep.
to. I thought he started the season really strong, especially on the offensive side, more so than I was expecting. But I do think he's taken a step back and been somewhat inconsistent there. I don't love when he puts the ball on the floor, and I think he's been looking to do
A
that
little reckless. Yep.
a little too much this season. And then obviously losing him during the Laker game to a non-contact injury, waiting to see when he'll be back and what that really means. Hopefully, they're just holding him till after the All-Star game to get him some extra rest. But that's obviously something that's been an issue with him in the past and something that we're going to have to be mindful of moving forward now that the injury bug has reared its head this season.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You took the words right out of my mouth. We just had different scales on the grading.
Yes.
Um, Joshua Thibodeau Hart.
Miles and miles and miles of Josh Hart. I'm gonna go first on this one.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me go
sure, sure.
first, because this dude gets an A plus 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 plus.
Wow.
What can't be said about Josh Hart? He leaves it on the court every night. He does everything that's asked of him, whatever that is on any given night. Whether it's play defense, whether it's fill the stat sheet with another triple double. Does he sometimes drive a little recklessly to the hoop without knowing what he's going to do when he gets there? And does that occasionally lead to a frustrating turnover? Sure. But I will take that with everything else he brings on the table any day of the week.
He is debatably our most valuable player.
I
And
agree.
only Knicks fans would understand that. If you watch
Yep.
the Knicks every day, you know what we're saying. Um, you technically gave him a higher grade than Brunson, which,
Yeah.
okay, sure. Um, I'm I'm giving him a grade higher than Cat, and again, I don't. this was very hard to do. Grading all these guys. A minus for Cat or not Cat, but Hart. He is, to quote the great Walt Clyde Frazier, the heart and soul of this team, and that's invaluable. I love Hart. He's got heart, and
He's the
all the other,
best.
yeah,
And also, I feel like anyone who listens to the Roommates podcast knows that it's fair to give Josh Hart a higher grade than Jalen Brunson because Josh Hart really does carry that pod sometimes when Jalen's being a little quiet. So, yeah.
sure. Personality wise, he gets an A plus 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 plus.
Hey, got a grade on all the things. He's this team's glue guy. He matters so much to this team. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of crazy that there were people in the beginning of the season thinking he should come off the bench, but we don't have to go
Yeah, we don't. Let's not rehash that.
there. All right, after Josh Hart, we have Thomas Thibodeau. What grade you giving Tibbs so far this season?
He is getting. I'm dishing out another C, but a C plus. Tibbs, he's keeping the ship afloat. Um, he's matching expectations of where we think this team should be. Again, it's hard to criticize a coach that's got you third in the East. But my big knock is usage. Only recently has he started inserting Huck Porty back into the lineup. Um, Tyler Kolek was getting a little bit of burn early in the season. Now, not so much. And not that, and it's not because I want to see these guys play and see what we have. We're not effing around. We're looking to win a championship. But I also don't want these guys burnt out. I don't want OG having a non-contact injury, maybe because of all his usage. You know what I mean? So I lay that at Tibbs's feet. Just so um, yeah, Tibbs gets a C plus for me. Even though I'm not disappointed, and I know who Tibbs is. We know what he does, how he likes to play his starters and his vets, and here we are. So
I am giving Tibbs a solid B.
okay.
It would be B plus A minus range if we'd won one of the Celtics games, beat the Lakers, some of these games we've been talking about, or avoiding some of the worser losses. Worser is not a word, I don't think. Some of the worst losses, like the Utah loss, like some of the Hawks losses. There's just been a few losses that I don't like to see, and I think that could have been handled better. But this is not a Tibbs roster. It is not a defensive-minded team. Obviously, a lot's been made of him and Cat's history in the past. They're both older and more mature now. But Cat is not a typical Tibbs center, that's for sure. But Tibbs still has his team playing hard. He's adjusted his strategies to coach one of the best offenses in the NBA, and he's getting what he can out of the defense from this team. Obviously, like you said, we need him to go deeper into the rotation. That's been a Tibbs frustration for forever.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would argue that. But I think, we said it earlier in this pod, and we've said it repeatedly in past episodes. New team coming together. I think he's overseen that really well, and I think he's gotten out of them what he can, especially on the defensive side, where they're not the typical, like I said, typical Tibbs defensive teams. Yeah.
sure.
What do you think about our boy Leon Rose? What kind of grade you giving him?
He gets a B plus. Um, I mean, obviously, you could knock him for overpaying or paying the Knicks tax to trade for Bridges, which is whatever. You made the point before. If we're supposed to be an elite team for the next 5 years, what are those picks worth? Like, cool. We got OG for it, not OG Bridges for it. Um, and like we could have the Mavs GM. We could have Phil Jackson as our GM. Leon has done nothing but seemingly make all the right moves, whether it's in the draft, whether it's trades. He's only gotten this team better and better each year. So that's my grade. He's
What was it again? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I think I said B minus. Did
Yeah,
I
I
hear
think you
B
said.
plus?
I think you said B plus.
B plus. Hold on. B plus.
Okay. This is where we're gonna differ. I've been kind of higher than you on most of these grades, but I'm gonna go C plus for Leon Rose.
Okay.
Um, I think it was kind of a weak showing at the deadline. I know the Knicks didn't have a ton of stuff to move. Hopefully Mitch comes back. I mean, I think the C plus has a lot of potential to go up based on what, if anything, happens on the buyout market and what happens with Mitchell Robinson coming back and what this team
March
does
1st,
once
apparently.
he does. Is Mitch first? Is Mitch coming back March 1st? That's the thing.
That's what I read earlier today. Yeah,
Alrighty, well let's hope that happens. But yeah, I think Leon's built a perennial competitive team, a perennial top 4 or 5 in the East team. Obviously, we're seeing three and maybe even two, if, depending on what happens with the Celtics. But I do think this team is still like a piece away from being a true title contender. And
sure,
again, maybe that piece is Mitch. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't expect buyout guys to really tip the scale in a huge, meaningful way. They might, swing one game in a postseason series. That matters too. But that's,
sure,
I'm not looking for a guy to carry the team. But yeah, I think Leon, the last 5 years, I'd give Leon a B plus, A minus. But for this season right now, I am trepidatiously giving him a C plus and hoping that that rises as we get closer to the postseason.
sure. Okay, cool.
For the last grade of this exercise, I think we're going to lump the whole bench together
Sure.
as one unit. That guys like Campaign, Deuce McBride, I almost said Deuce McAllister, which is a completely different sport and a deuce different era. So yeah, Campaign, Deuce McBride, Precious Achua, Porty, Shamit, before the trade deadline, Sims. What kind of grade you giving this bench unit so far?
This was hard because I could have went a million different ways on it. Um, Again, we haven't seen it's like Shamit. Like, how do I grade Shamit? Like, I would put incomplete at the top of the test, and or like see me after class to discuss your future here. Like I haven't seen enough of them. So, but I could talk about Payne, Deuce, Precious, even Huck Porty now, or Sims before he bounced. This is so hard. I wrote a B, and I'm gonna stick with that. I'm giving them a B because, especially Payne, he might play 22 minutes one game and then get in for 6 minutes the next. And he always seems to be up for the task. Same thing with Precious, same thing with Deuce. And if I'm talking about those three guys to really represent the bench, I'm giving them a solid B. And everybody else, it's kind of like, all right, Huck Porty's flashed. Like, let's see more of that, and then let's grade
Sure.
from there. But giving those guys a solid B.
I am not going to be so generous again. This is going to be where I'm a little harsher than you.
Sure.
I'm going with a C for the bench. Part of it is I think one of the reasons Tibbs isn't going to the bench is because he just doesn't trust this bench unit a ton. I mean, obviously Deuce McBride, we love our guy Deuce. Campaign's been a fun heat check guy here and there, but to your point, there are games where he doesn't have it and he's only going to get 5 minutes off the bench and they have to go elsewhere. I am not a Landry Shamet guy. I like what we've seen out of Huck Porty so far. Precious is low key my favorite guy on the bench. I love his effort. I love his
Same.
attitude. He's obviously a limited player in terms of skill, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but I'm okay with that.
He's
Especially,
trying though,
especially
and
with
not
yeah.
to.
Oh no,
Clyde calls it out all the time that he's looking to the rim. He's looking at the
yes,
basket. He's trying. Whereas
and
Sims never tried. It's
never.
like,
But Sims is gone, so I don't think we
yeah,
need to
no.
harp
So
on that.
whatever.
But yeah, I mean, you could see Precious has improved his corner 3-point shot immensely. I mean, that was a
Mhm.
shot a year ago. You screamed when he was taking it. He's not the highest percentage shooter now, but he makes them, somewhat often enough that you could see he's been putting in the work, and you're not yelling at the TV when those go up, even
Yep.
if you still like to see him going a bit more regularly. No, I love Precious. He clearly puts in the work. I mean, it was clear that they wanted to bring him back in the offseason, and they needed to wait and see how salary things worked out. But you could tell that
Hmm.
there's just a special bond and an appreciation for what he does bring to the table when he gets in that game action for sure. But yeah, so C because I think there's still some holes. There's a reason the starters are playing 40 minutes a night. Uh, I do think Tibbs needs to force trust on that bench. Hopefully, we get a buyout guy. Hopefully, we get Mitch back for that depth in this bench unit. Again, is one of the things that has a potential to go back up in terms of grade in performance. But right now I'd give it a C. I mean I love what Deuce does on a nightly basis, but I think you and I both even expected a little bit more from him.
Sure.
That might be more on Tibbs in the minutes he's getting. But I think we thought he could have been a six man of the year finalist,
And
and I
he's
don't I
definitely
don't I
not
don't
that.
see that anywhere
Yeah.
close right now. So yeah,
And I think that's both him and I think that's more of a Tibbs thing in usage, but
agreed.
yeah.
But it is what it is.
Well, that's our grades, everybody.
Yeah, those are
Please
our
feel
much
free to yell and curse and call us idiots.
highly those are
Can't
our
wait.
highly anticipated midseason grades. We've been doing this for many, many years. It's an annual tradition we
We
have.
love to do
It,
it.
we've been podcasting for 1 year, but for some reason we've been doing these midseason grades for 45 years, even though
Dude,
none
I
of them are
grade
so 40.
everything.
Yeah.
USDA beef, milk, your
Cards.
seventh graders tests. I grade things, So
Shout out to PSA.
PSA, what's up? Oh yeah, no, I'm great. Send me your cards. I'll grade those and I'll send them back.
Red Rocket Marky over there.
I don't know what that
All
means.
right. Well,
Okay,
that
never
does
mind.
do it for our grades, but we do want to take a look ahead. This weekend is All-Star Weekend. It's not quite the weekend it once was. We don't need to be the billionth people to talk about what the dunk contest has become, but it will be fun to watch some of the All-Star Saturday stuff, skills competition, and most importantly, the three-point contest following featuring our guy Jalen Brunson. Marky, any three-point predictions?
I honestly don't know who's in it other than
Would
Brunson.
you would, would you like me to read you the field?
Yes, sure.
Jalen Brunson, who you might have heard of,
Winner,
Cade Cunningham, Knicks
loser,
nemesis,
loser.
Darius Garland, Knicks nemesis,
Okay.
Tyler Hero, Knicks nemesis,
Yeah, don't like him.
Buddy Hield, who the Knicks beat in the playoffs last year,
Mm-hmm.
Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets,
Weird. Okay.
aka the quadruple A NBA team, Damian Lillard, and Norman Powell.
Dame's winning it.
You think so?
Yeah. And if it's not him, Brunson. I'll be
Yeah,
a
I'm
homer and
going.
just say
I'm
Brunson.
going Brunson. I think Brunson got a taste of it last year. I think he's been prepping. I don't really think that, but I want to see our guy Jalen Brunson win it. Let's hang a banner in the garden for a Jalen Brunson three-point contest
He's
victory.
got
Why
that
not?
cold as ice mentality, kind of like Dame has. Whereas,
It
like, if
is
he
kind
locks
of
in,
a Yeah,
it's
it's kind of an interesting field. It's very Eastern Conference. There's only two Western Conference players, which I find
yeah.
kind of
I
interesting.
almost was going to ask you. I was like, did they split it up? Like,
No, of the eight, six are Eastern Conference. Norm Powell from the Clippers and Buddy Hield from the Warriors are the only two
weird.
from the West.
Are
Yeah,
they?
so
There was talk of them doing like another Sabrina Steph
Caitlin
thing.
Clark said no.
She said
She,
no.
yeah,
What?
it's kind of badass. She was like, I want my first 3-point contest to be the WNBA 3-point contest.
All right,
Uh, it,
respect.
it it's also in Indiana next summer, so like
Oh,
way bigger
that's
deal.
there. It is. There
I
it is.
I I can't remember. She might have even said like the NBA guys should come to their All-Star weekend and do it. So I think she might have like I might be making that part of it up, but she also might have like instigated a little bit further, which is kind of fun.
All right, good for her.
So
She's
so yeah,
pulling her clout
yeah,
for good
exactly,
reasons. Cool.
exactly.
Shout out
Uh,
Caitlin Clark.
Indeed. Uh, our favorite segment of the week before,
What the
this Knicks Pacers game is going to tip off soon in the real world. So we are going to try and wrap this up so we can go watch that. But our favorite segment, Josh Hart triple double watch. I believe we are still at 7.
still
There
outside?
wasn't a triple double in the Raptors or Celtics games. We've already waxed poetically a lot about Josh Hart, so I don't think we need to do that any further here. But is there anything about Josh Hart that we haven't said yet that you'd like to say?
No, I'm checking to see if he. I know he was a game time decision for tonight. I still haven't seen an update on that. So let's hope he's playing tonight.
Let's. All right. We also have a new segment for our Knicks podcast that has almost nothing to do with the Knicks, other than the fact that the main creative involved in this show is the king of Knicks Twitter, Ben Stiller. We're calling this segment for the time being Walt Clyde Milchick. We're trying to come up with Knicks-based Severance names, so if you have a better idea, send it in. Our text message is full of things that were almost there, but not quite there. My personal favorite name that we're not using being Baby Goats and Hoes. But yeah, so if anybody at home is a Severance fan, we're going to talk about the show for a little bit. If you've never watched it, maybe jump ahead for 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, get out of here. And if you don't watch the show, please do. It's
Yeah.
quite fantastic.
A week ago at this time, I had never seen a single episode of Severance. Now I have seen every episode of Severance. Thank you to the flu for giving me the time to make that
I know
happen.
so many people like you that have just binged it this season and are just caught up, and I'm like, and I low key want to tell you all to go f yourselves because the lot of us waited 3 years for the second season, and you guys are just you got it like that.
Well, some of us are seasoned TV viewers, and we know to wait to binge the first season
Oh,
until the second
shush,
season
shush,
shows
shush,
up.
shush, shush.
I did it. I did it with Lost, a very similar show, and many other shows.
I did that with Lost too, but without people like me who watched the first season to talk about it being awesome, people like you don't exist. So without me, I I walked. Wait, I ran so you could walk. Wait, how does that saying go?
You crawled so I could walk.
Whatever. I paved the way.
You walked so I could run.
That's right, baby. That's right.
I once did a Star Wars version of that that was BB-8 rolled so Grogu could coo. But
That's
that's a nerd cut for those at home that
yeah.
like Star Wars as much as
I'm
I
not
do.
that type of nerd. I
Fair
don't.
enough.
Jar Jar
I will say
Binks.
Severance had been on my watch list for a very long time. I'd been meaning to get to it. I actually 3 years ago, 3 years ago, did something professionally with Ben Stiller, and it was while Severance was the hit of season one. So hearing people talk about it had always made me want to get into it. And the sick day provided the perfect opportunity. I'm all about the theories. I'm all about crazy stuff. I'm mostly listening to the Ringers Prestige TV podcast, Joanna Robinson and Rob Mahoney as well, talking about theories and things there. But what do you got for me? What are you thinking right now?
The Montauk project. Everybody
Talk
go
to me
look
about
that up
Montauk.
because I'm not. There's not enough time to really deep dive into it, but and I think Ben Stiller, I want to say, was quoted as saying he was inspired by that in some way. I also think this I do know is that Stranger Things is based off the Montauk project as well.
Yes.
For just a quick summary of what the Montauk Project is. Um, it's a conspiracy that in, I want to say, right after World War II, the U.S. government made a secret base in Montauk in Long Island, where they conducted a lot of human experiments, um, things like mind control and like telepathy and shit like that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of similarities to the show and that. So,
What do you think we're gonna see on this week's episode this Thursday?
um, I think they're gonna go into again major spoiler alerts here if you haven't shut this shit off already. Um, I think we get to dive into um, what's his name being bo-
Reintegrated Marky?
he's reintegrated Mark. God, he shares my namesake and I couldn't fucking beep. I couldn't think of his name. Yes. Yes. He has been reintegrated and we're going to start to see him dealing with that.
I hope
Um,
so. I also hope we get some plotting of him and his sister Devin because I'm a big Devin guy. She's one of my more favorite characters on the show.
yeah, Devin's pretty cool. She's badass. Like she's like the cool sister that's like close with her. You know what I mean? Or close with them. Her husband's hilarious too in his own right. Like how his ego is so he
He's so
just feed it and
That actor like nails that kind of role. He was also in Orange is the New Black and some other things that I can't think of right now. And he's so good at that. Just like I think I'm so smart, but I'm really just a complete hot bag of
doofus.
hot air like buffoon. He's great at that. The
That I think.
you are.
Did you hear any of the conspiracies about all the people that have the pin? How
No,
they're like indoctrinated, like the girl that speaks for the board all the time that came and
Natalie.
Natalie, dude, you're so good with names. I'm so bad with character names. I'll like describe what they look like or their occupation, but um, yeah, no. Milchick has one. Anybody, most of everybody who works for Lumen has this pin on at all times, and I believe it looks like a raindrop. And there's some significance there that I'm curious to look more into.
Yeah, I
Crazy
mean, it
shit.
does seem like that some people work there because it's their job, and some people are like true believers in what Lumen's doing, and
Yep.
praise be to Kier and all that stuff.
Yep. Some people are
Uh,
there for a paycheck, and other people are, as you said, true believers. And I think people wearing those pins, true believers.
Shout out to the Bouncing Souls.
Oi, oi.
Also, we're true believers because we're definitely not doing this for the paycheck. I can assure you of that.
Oh yeah, baby.
All right, that's probably enough Severance talk. We should get better at it next week.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I'm gonna actually make Severance notes because I realized I was like, oh, we could just do this shit off the cuff. We love that show. And then I'm like, oh no,
didn't think
wait.
that could happen.
No.
I'm only starting to get into the theories. I did just watch 14 hours of the show in the last couple days, so I need some time now to like really get my Reddit detective going and dive into some threads and see what's out
Same.
there.
I'm new to theories as well. Like,
I
well,
do the Ringer Prestige TV podcast. Joanna Robinson has called out something interesting that there's like low key a lot of like very specific Civil War references, uh,
yes.
and like some people are wondering if this takes place in an alternate history where
Yes.
maybe the Civil War didn't go the way it did in our actual world. That being said, they do reference the Hoover Dam, so Hoover was presumably a president at some point. But yeah. I think we're in for some very interesting stuff on our favorite
She's
TV show.
100. I That's a conspiracy I truly buy into because if you look, some of the paintings that Christopher Walken's character has are basically they look like Civil War era paintings, but it's of Kier. So like
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, is
Well,
this an alternate?
also the company was founded in 1865, which is also like the year the Civil War ended. So that's part of
Interesting.
it too. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's
Very
go.
interessante. Very, very interessante. Shout out to the Catskills where they film all this stuff too.
Shout out. There's a lot. They film a lot of that in Jersey and New York.
Yeah. Definitely New York. I didn't know about New Jersey,
Oh,
but that
dude, a
makes
lot.
sense.
The office
Is
buildings in
that? Oh yeah,
Jersey.
that's right. No, I did know that. It's a Bell Labs in New Jersey. I
Bell
knew that. I
Labs.
actually
Yep.
think I think it's near where I grew up. Um,
Oh, shame on
but
you.
yeah, so that does it for Walt Clyde Milchick. Maybe we'll make a funny graphic that hopefully isn't offensive or
Yeah,
anything.
no, I'll doodle something up. Maybe.
Please do. You are the graphic designer on this here podcast.
All
Shout out
right,
Glamour Kills.
let's get to this Pacers game. Let's watch it. I
Yeah,
think
let's
tip off's
we'll get
about to
out of here.
start.
We have something fun planned for you next week, something a little different we're working on. Don't want to over promise until we've actually recorded it, just in case anything goes wrong. But hopefully we get a really good look at maybe one of the top teams in the East through maybe one of their fan podcasts like ours.
Let's
We'll see.
go.
Yeah, that does it for us. This is the Big Nick Energy podcast. Be sure to follow Big Nick Energy on Twitter, on X, on Instagram, on Blue Sky. Buy some merch while you're at it. I am John Kolnoski on all platforms. Marky, tell the people where they can find you.
Don't go looking for me. You don't
No,
want to follow me now.
stay off the grid, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing here. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you're watching, whether you're listening, follow, like, subscribe, maybe give us a little 5-star rating. Everything helps.
Five
We appreciate the
stars.
engagement. Or just comment on the Instagram clips below if maybe you're seeing this there. That does it for us for this week, and we'll see you again next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Toodles. Bye.